And we are back here with our next interview in Star West 2022. As I promised, this morning I am trying to make it woman oriented, give better representation, give lots of opportunities. Unfortunately, at I think it was at the very beginning,
The
we
reception.
met our amiga Noa, who just walked into us, started to ask, and bringing a lot of energy, bringing a lot of curiosity that got me very interested on what is the deal, what is happening. First of all, amiga Noa, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure. And to start up, as usual, for the ones that do not know you, do not know what's the deal with you, what's up with Noah, and what's
Who,
your story?
who am I? So nice meeting everyone here and on the live streaming. So my name is Noa Segol. I'm based out of Tel Aviv, Israel. I'm the VP of Marketing of Strategy of Practitest, which is a SaaS B2B test management. I'll elaborate a little bit about this later on. Myself, actually, it's a bit funny of my background. I didn't start in tech. Okay, this is an
Ooh.
interesting story. Sometimes I heard it quite often here, by the way, by
It's not
several
the
other
first
people.
time,
It's not the
yeah.
first time that we've heard this. So my original background is in psychology.
Cool.
Okay, I spent a year as a school psychologist before pivoting into tech marketing about 10 years ago, and mostly working on B2B startups. Israel is very strong on this. And that's about it. This is actually my first time here in Star West and my first time in California, which
Oh.
is exciting. But I've been to Star West pre-pandemic
Okay.
and other conferences in Europe, which is a bit closer to us. But it's very exciting to be here.
I'm very happy that you got a chance to come here and to do that transition. And yeah, believe it or not, and in IT, we have many people that were not like computer bachelor degrees or anything like that. But especially in QA,
Agree.
we have a wide range of previous specialties that.
Agree. I think mostly that's because I think we're going to see it less and less in the near future. Because in my personal perspective, speaking with quite a lot of testers, I think in previous days when manual tester was more common or scripted testing, it was considered easier to enter. You did not necessarily had to require to have previous knowledge. You can just take
Yeah.
sometimes you can do a preliminary course or something or just learn on the job. Whereas as gradually we see more and more automation coming into place,
Yeah.
where you need to know higher level of code, then you will see, I think this phenomena will be less prominent in percentage, perhaps.
It's interesting, and it's a very good point that you bring there, because one thing that when I promote the QA world to everyone is like, yeah, you can start as an automated tester. All you need is like a very almost OCD but very detail oriented mind,
Yeah.
and you'll be an awesome QA person to start off. And then once you are
You'll
in,
find your way.
you'll find your way. You start to pick up on development, code, automation, and all the beautiful areas that we can have. But I completely agree with you. Like, um, thinking about it, like in a mindful way. But subconsciously, I'm pushing back. Like, no, there's always gonna be, and this is probably like a more like a gut feeling than statistics and numbers. But there are many areas where that spark and different perspective in life may be useful. But I agree, it's difficult because you have exploratory testing, you have.
I'll have to jump in and share some statistical numbers, if I
Oh,
may.
great! Yeah,
Okay.
I love that
I
you.
promised. Yeah, I told. We agree that I'm eager to speak, almost like you are. So it's a fun conversation. Regardless of the product that we promote, Practitest is doing a lot of for the community activities, and one of them is that we have been conducting the state of testing report for the past 10 years. And in this report, we asked the community, we spread around a survey, and we asked the community several questions. You can find it online, free, of course, in our website to take a more deeper look. But if I to summon about that, it's the fact that unlike perhaps some of the lectures here, which are very much focused on automation, because conferences are future focusing, okay?
Mhm.
In real life, and when we talk to our customers, and when we survey thousands of QA professionals around the world, still automation adoption is very far from what you might think. And as you mentioned, there's the need of critical thinking and about the thought about human behavior and human thought, and what would if you talk about UAT, and what would be a normal behavior for a tester. This is not going, not for a tester, sorry, for a user. This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
not going anywhere.
Hmm.
And the same concept, if I to address what you've mentioned before, the concept of being detail oriented for one, but also being very exploratory in nature. Okay, trying to look for scenarios that were not necessarily thought of, and end game, and side cases which
Hmm.
might make the software crash. This is not going to change, and this is part where creativity, in addition to detail oriented, is needed, and that's a place to enter for people coming from different domains as well.
Yeah, it's. I'm not surprised with your statistic. For what I have seen in Mexico, Latin America, some of the experiences that I have on my side of the world, it's very similar. At some conferences and some places, I wish that when I do the question like, "Hey, how many here are automating not manual testers?" Half, maybe less than half.
Probably less than half.
Yeah, and okay, okay. And in my personal field, it's like, "How many here performance?" And I see two hands, and that's it, out of 100 or a few
Yeah,
hundreds.
yeah, yeah.
And it's still the richness in different mindsets, different perspectives, different experiences, because that's the other edge of the sword, I would say, where people that are too used to the systems, too used to how what the happy path should be.
Change is gradual,
Hmm.
always. Okay, and we need to accept that, and we need to understand this, and to support it along the way.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's it's a great perspective because makes people think everyone like no automation is gonna leave QAs out of
I think, going back to my previous background, that sometimes one of the things we really like about the survey is that it allows people to see what others are doing. I think this is
yeah.
also the case, one of the benefit of coming to those events, or attend, or following YouTube channels, because sometimes when you too much focus in your own company, you tend to think this is the world sometimes, and you don't have a benchmark to understand where you are comparing to others. And are we the only one who are lagging behind?
Hmm.
Or perhaps are we doing so well, when you think this is, if
Are
you're
we
over
even
optimistic,
doing the right things?
are we doing the right thing? Or if you're overconfident, you can think you're doing the right thing, but in the end you might be lagging behind the industry because you're just so close-minded towards your reality is. And the idea of hearing, statistics, speaking of which, I mean, I love hunches as well, and creativity, but hearing what other people are doing and getting a grasp of where the industry is at the moment lets you, I think, probably fine-tune where you should be as a company, by the way, but also as a professional.
Yeah.
Okay, like, what's the skills? Because if everyone is, even if everyone is talking about automation, that can be a good symbol that even if you're not deploying it at the moment, perhaps you should start learning and exploring and preparing your skill set to the
Hmm.
point where it will be needed.
No, you're making a very good point, and I personally have lived it at organizations where I'm the only IT person. It's it has been in my professional uh, history or experience the times that I have grown the least. Like I I was doing things the way that I could think of, and to give you an example, trying to solve and figure out the world through Microsoft Access, which you can see how wrong was just out of that statement.
As good as you were able to at that point, that's okay
Yeah, but I didn't have anywhere else to see or to learn
to
or to
refer
grow
to.
to get an example. I was trying to figure out life by myself, and that's not the best option, the best path. And you're right, you have to open
Yeah,
your.
you just mentioned it. I just hosted Leonardo in our booth, and asking about tips that we wish you received when you first started testing. And I think the point you've mentioned is spot on. There's no need to invent the wheel over and over again when there is shared knowledge that can
Yeah.
be explored and can be used, either via surveys, via free webinars. I'm going to do some marketing here that we do on a monthly basis, and you're invited to join us for free, of course, via attending conferences. One more chance of doing marketing, so I can't help it. We have,
Free segue, so for everyone, don't
of
worry.
course, we have our online test conf, which is a live free testing conference happening November next month, actually. So you're also invited to join this. There is endless amount of opportunities to learn and to share experiences with others, Slack channels, LinkedIn groups. So just use it, I think. And If we were to jump into your next point about female presence in the IT, I have something to say in regards to this. I
Okay.
think that sometimes women tend to be uh, less outreaching than men.
Yeah.
Not always. This is a bit stereotypical, and I apologize for this if it's not spot on for you personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as a stereotype thing, and stereotypes do came out of somewhere or someplace, it does tend to happen. And the ability to, by the way, they don't fall apart in their professional capabilities
Mm-hmm.
to be spot on. But sometimes we know that succeeding and progressing in the job profession is not just about what you know. It's
Yeah.
also about what people think that you know. It's a different capabilities that sometimes you need to have enough confidence to sit up and speak, especially in scenarios in which you are the only woman in the room, which happens more often
More
than what we
often.
would
Yeah.
like to desire.
We were just talking about that earlier with another woman in QA, and it's interesting because it's a similar line of her recommendation. Don't be afraid. Just step forward. Do what are you passionate about, and it's what you described. I've seen it several times. Like girls that are really capable, like incredible people, skill wise, personal wise, but shy to show it.
I don't know if it's shy necessarily, but I can tell you this. We have this discussion in Israel. I don't know if it's representative to the entire world, but I think this
Eh,
data came out of the US that in general, when applying for a new job, women will only apply if they meet 90 plus percentage of the criteria, whereas men, if they meet 70%, for them, that's a go.
mhm.
And this gap is sometimes explaining what we just mentioned, how much confident you feel that you need to be in order to speak up and show your way.
It's an interesting mix, and yeah, sorry if I said shyness is like the word that came to my mind. I know that there's so much around it, and you're right. We guys are like head first. We just jump at it. We don't even know what is going to happen, if we're going to hurt ourselves. And for women, at times, it's like I have to have all the weapons. I have to have all everything and be ready, assertive, and it's weird because I like that. I like to be prepared. I like to uh, um, have everything ready before I jump into many decisions. And there are some others that I'm a mess. I'm just shooting from the hip and seeing what is going to happen. Many of these situations, I don't even know what is going to happen and try to survive.
This is taking a different approach to what you're saying. Agile is also a requirement today. It's fine. Okay. Uh,
No, and but it's. I think it should. We should get to a balance point
of
where.
course.
Um,
I can share a small example, which I'm actually a bit ashamed of, but we'll fix it for the next event. Is that I had this lady coming to a booth. Okay, we're exhibiting here in the booth, and we have stickers. Okay, we have some cool stickers. One of them is a sticker that's showing a guy sitting next to a computer with the slogan of "Born to
oh,
Test." Okay, that's a very
okay.
nice sticker. If you are around, by the way, come and pick yours. But then the first thing she told me is you need to have a woman
Yeah.
on the sticker. We're already outbalanced 3 to 7
Mm-hmm.
in our companies. You should not encourage this furthermore. And I listened. The first thing I told her, you are 100% right.
Yeah, it's interesting. We need to push more. I would say the end goal would be to have balanced representation, imagery, marketing, everything around to get into people's mindset. But for now, I think we should be having everything women represented. And when we kind of get to a 50-50, we were talking earlier, you have the same statistic, 3 to 7 proportion. But when we get to the 5 and 5, we can stop making it just women oriented and let's do whatever and have it balanced. Like because you're right, everything we were saying that earlier. When you think of video games or marketing, for there's a kid playing and not a girl.
Yeah, and there is a say we'll have to say you can be what you don't see.
Yeah.
Okay,
Wow,
if
I
you're
love
a
that
child, you don't
saying.
know that there's like when you talk about children in particular. Okay, when you are a child and you look up front of who you dream yourself of being.
Yeah.
Okay, if you can't see it, it's harder for you to imagine to put it in your vision of this is what I want to be.
Yeah. It it's interesting because there were some situations where I think that happens to everyone, not only to girls, but having that image, that recognition on so many things. Someone comes to us and says like, "Hey, why don't you do that?" Oh, you're right. Why don't I? What's stopping me? Didn't even pass through your
Cross your
head.
mind. Yeah.
It's I love that saying, and I hope you don't mind. It's not trademarked or anything, but I'm gonna start
No,
using
no,
it
absolutely. Listen, we're all
here
about
and there
encouraging and having more women in the industry. By the way, I think it's a benefit for women, but also for the
in
industry and in
general.
the end for our customers. Which in QA, that's the entire world, essentially, because having a different perspective in the decision making broaden the vision, broaden what the products that we produce, their capabilities. But by the way, it's not just gender specific. My dad is a left-handed, and he jokes that some of the products that he uses are just not fit for him because
Hmm.
no one thought of that scenario and made the adjustment to make him useful for him. Okay, so the in general diversity
Yeah.
both in gender and in other elements, neurodivergence, we see that all. We just had a session recently about accessibility in one of our webinars about the ability to have all members welcome to use a product. It can be either in the visual elements or other elements of
Hmm.
the products that we or our customers, we release our own products, but we help our customers to release their own, and the ability of those products to be useful for everyone by everyone. I think this is something we all should strive for.
No, it's super important, and we were kind of taking over that topic a little bit when we were saying that different perspectives, different people joining QA with their different set of eyes, different experiences, life, blah, brings more richness to the mix. And I was gonna say first QA, then IT, but the whole world is missing a lot on bringing the feminine perspective, and not because it's stereotypical feminine, but I my personal opinion, very non-respectable, is you are better at multitasking, you are better identifying patterns, and so many things that at home, my fiance tells me like, you didn't notice that, like, notice what, like,
Yeah.
and that richness in detail, in observation, we're missing out. And I'm not afraid of saying that if you were given an opportunity before, and providing, giving back to the world with those skills, the world would be in a better place by now. I have no doubt about it. And it's incredible that no one was paying attention to that. No one, like, no, 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 no. And we had a bad but true life example. You are here in the meeting room just to take notes. What? I'm the one that knows better. Like, why am I not given the opportunity, right? And it brings a curiosity on me, on your personal situation. What do you think, on what would you say is what brought you for to where you are, and what made the difference?
So I think, by the way, and I do have to disclaimer this, I'm in IT or in tech, but in the marketing department, which is still more female oriented.
Yeah.
Uh, but on the other hand, I will mention that I'm a management member, and where it goes to management level, this is where you still see not enough women, regardless of where we are. We typically see a pyramid in which, regardless of the area, you'll see a lot of women sometimes along the way, but when you reach management, the percentage of women
I
will
think
drop.
management is even worse than
It's much
IT.
worse. It's much worse. Um, but I do think, by the way, that regardless, two things needs to happen. One, you need to have a company uh, that is enabler, okay, that
Hmm.
will allow you, that is an environment. You need to work for a company and to insist on working for a manager and for a company which is an enabler, and which see you by your merits, by the way. And I think for me, I do like to mention that I'm all about promoting women in IT and not just in IT, but I think, by the way, that you should promote women by their merits.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think that women should be promoted because they're women. I think this is counter.
That's another problem. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think this is
Intuitive.
not just counterintuitive. This is
Counterproductive.
counterproductive to what we're trying to achieve. But needless to say, I do think that there is endless amount of highly talented women. And if you work for a company that's hiring and promoting for merits, okay, and for the work that it's done, and sometimes can encourage, by the way, and identify those gaps in applying for a higher job
Mm-hmm.
or promoting, okay, I can share. I'm going to promote a very nice initiative by my friend, but it's again free and very useful. One of my best friends initiated a program within Google, which is called I Am Remarkable, which is encouraging women and not just around the world, just to mention and to start talking about what they're doing good. Okay,
That's
I'm remarkable because I can do this and that. And I think this is like we just played with the yo-yo, which is a swag in our booth, and we mentioned that some skills, some capabilities are muscles that needs to be shaped. And when we work on a muscle, it's becoming stronger and better and easier utilized. I think that's the same. Our ability to talk about our strength, okay, is sometimes not wasn't encouraged. In some scenarios, women were not encouraged to use that often enough growing up. If you talk about myself, I had a career mom. Okay, she's very successful. I think, as I mentioned before, that role modeling is extremely important.
yeah.
But it can be from your own house, or by the way, by watching women on live streaming like this. It doesn't have to be within your house. It could be in your neighborhood. Have another woman which is successful
We're surrounded. I love it.
just passing here. Um, so essentially, this is it. I think that having role models of women, promoting women, encouraging women to share their successes. And I know of some of my friends that were promoted after their manager just reach out to them and ask, why wouldn't you apply? As you
Mm.
mentioned, sometimes it just passes you. And then she said, me? But I'm not. And then once he approached and directly asked her, why won't you apply? She started rethinking that. And then she says, yeah, I can apply. Not only that I can apply, I can be good at that job.
Hmm. Why not?
Why
What is the
not?
problem? Or break those supposed.
Why not? Okay. I think that sometimes, and if I were to say one thing about it, I think that there is a glass ceiling sometime, but I think the first and foremost, we need to break our own glass ceiling.
Oh yeah.
Okay, breaking our own glass ceiling. I think this is something that I've done very early on, and once you start doing this, and by the way, once you smash that ceiling and you find out that
It's a huge world of hope,
it
right?
doesn't hurt,
Uh-huh.
then you can continue climb up.
That's a very good point. That it doesn't hurt. Figure that out because it's like that first step that is like, I don't want to break it. I don't know. I'm
Correct.
gonna.
First time is always the scariest, by the way. I think in everything in life. So
Yeah.
once you do it, and by the way, sometimes it does hurt. Okay, it
But you
doesn't
won't die out of it. That's
exactly. That was my next point. Sometimes when you break a ceiling, it can be a bit over optimistic saying that you might not get hurt, but you can get shortly sliced,
Mhm.
but it's not gonna kill you.
Yeah.
Okay, and you get sometimes during climbing up, or by the way, doing anything meaningful, you can get bruised along
Most
the
probably
way.
you will.
You will, correct. Okay, and it's all about being realistic. It sometimes it can hurt,
Mhm.
but it heals. And if you manage to survive this, and you will, and you can.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the fear is worse than the actual hate. Then you realize it's the way up is just there's so much more you can achieve.
Mhm. No, it's a saying to male related. No pain, no gain. But
Yeah,
there's some truth in that,
we,
right?
true. I mean, but I'll tell you this first and
Don't
foremost.
focus on the
No,
pain.
no,
No.
not just about the pain. I think that one thing, if you were to talk about women succeeding, is stop using men's metaphors to help them succeed. Not you yourself, but that's the point. If you try to encourage women in football metaphors, it doesn't
They
tick.
want. They want. No.
Okay, it
No.
just doesn't tick.
No empathy. No
Yeah,
rapport. No.
I'm not for yourself. I'm just saying that this is something culture sometimes is doing. Okay, for you it can be football. It can be we have similar scenarios coming from the Israeli army of how strong you should be. Whatever proper stereotypical male activities that you should do, and you should be stagnant. But you should be stagnant, by the way. But women are, I think, stronger, by the way. Not physical, but their endurance is much stronger.
No, and many more physical. I don't deny that. There, I
No,
know
it's
some
it's fine. I'm
in
just
in any circumstance, and no, all of them, there are strengths,
yeah.
and we should kind of help and promote them to thrive those strengths,
Correct.
physical, mental, spiritual, I don't know.
Correct. But the reason I'm focusing on this is because, if you'll go into someone which is anti-promotion, then they'll say there are biological, there are differences. And I don't disagree, by the way.
Yeah.
I do think there are differences. But if you are going back to our topic today, okay, none of those differences has any relation to your ability to strive as an IT professional.
Hmm.
Okay, what is required? Mental capabilities, detail orientation, curiosity. None of those capabilities has biological differences. And sticking to areas where it is just shortcoming us.
And if I may say, personal opinion, in those areas, I think girls are better prepared
Okay.
physiologically. Again, details, multitasking, things that, and again, we cannot generalize. I know some
Of
guys that
course,
are very good at that.
I really love statistics through my academic time, and the Gauss
Hmm.
distribution. Okay, so sometimes you might have an outlier here and there, but it still doesn't change where the
Still,
Gauss
you have some
where the
statistics in
majority
the middle.
stands. Okay, I mean, outlier does not represent the actual population.
Yeah.
They live, they exist. It's okay. We accept them, but we need to remember that they are outliers.
You just opened my eyes in one point where my phrase like pain or no gain, and there are so many of those things that we don't even notice that we're doing. We don't even know that are promoting. That's why we learned. That's why what we keep pushing and propelling in the culture, and that keeps doing that effect that you mentioned. You are not encouraging people, you are discouraging them, and but you don't even know.
Of course, I think that if I to summon this part, I think that if you'd asked me what would be the first thing that we need to do in order to help women in IT and in general strive, is awareness first and foremost.
Yeah.
We need to have internal attention to the wording that we use, okay, to make sure that they are enabling them to feel that they're not discomforting them in their journey up.
Yeah. No, that's like awareness, being aware that you can become this, that you can do this, that you should know not to do that, not to encourage that. That's really, really important. I love the recommendation. I mean, it opened my mind as well. And we're getting close to the end of this block. Just quickly, and I totally got carried away. Um, they didn't give you a chance to talk much specifically what's
So
the
I'll do
web
share
practice
a
test
few
and
words about practice test, uh, because this is the main reason of me arriving to California this time. Although it is a pleasure to speak
let's
with you.
justify the trip a little
Yeah,
bit business wise.
I think this is, it's been important and useful in addition. So PractiTest is a test management platform, which essentially means that we help our customers to orchestrate and organize all of their testing sources into one platform, and later on enable them to slice and dice the information to get real-time data and to answer the decision whether the software meets the quality requirement that they need, based on data and not based on guesstimation. And will share a few more words about that, if I may.
Please,
More
please.
often than not, speaking of automation adoption and not just, we hear from our customers that they are using somewhere between 3 to as much as 15 different tools. And each of those tools sometimes have their own reporting. And then when you go to a QA manager, director, etc., and ask them, are we good to go? They start guesstimating and mumbling because they have too many sources of reports, and it's very hard to know where do we actually stand. So we did this, we did this, we did that, but are we good? Okay, and in that aspect, we do address QA as a mean for the business to succeed, and not as task that needs to be done. Okay, the tests that needs to be done are important; they are the enabler. But in the end, our role as QA professionals is to maintain good product quality that meets user and our customer requirements.
Hmm.
This is where we come into play. Okay, essentially, so regardless of the tool that you're working, we are tool agnostic. We work with customers that work with any tool. We have integrations with any leading bug tracker, Jira, ClickUp, you name it. And with automation, we have actually a nice tool we just introduced that will help transform CI/CD results via NUnit or JUnit file, and we include those in the testing metrics as well, because unit testing is also testing, although it is conducted by a different persona, perhaps. And our latest addition that I must shine in before
Please,
I'll end
please.
this discussion is the fact that we've added an AI recommendation engine. because what we hear and what we know is that the more complex that your testing becomes, there's just not enough time to run all tests. This is fantasy, this is not real life. And then when you, with limitations of time and people, you need to decide which test makes more sense to run. So our AI engine learns your own project and gives a score for each test, which later, based on that, you can define, based on your time limitation, which tests are the ones you're going to run this time, which tests are okay to be identified perhaps later on in production, or either way can be depreciated because they're not, someone wrote
Useful
them some
anymore.
time ago, but we just kept on running them without paying attention to this. So by having an end-to-end visibility all the way from requirements or user stories that can either reside within a Jira tool or internally on our own, we either do end-to-end or we integrate, you can have full visibility of your status. And if an issue arises, you can shut down just specific requirements,
Types
just
of
specific case, and the rest can go on and can go out while you correct this, and you don't have to shut down everything or delay going into production, because visibility is power.
we are continuous now, supposedly, and it doesn't matter if that little piece that is failing, you are not pushing it. Put it back, release the rest, and keep working on it continuously.
Correct.
Change of mindset completely. It's a great set of solutions and perspective. Um, I wish we could talk a little bit more just on that, but for now, I think the uh, um, empowering, inspiring women, girls, ladies, it's more important. It's we already talked enough about QA and all that.
Agree.
But thank you so much also for giving us that characteristic of practice. One last thing that caught my attention, you said that you had lots of tutorials, webinars, and things that people
Correct.
could get. Where can they find it?
If you go into our website, www.practitest.com, okay, we have QA Learning Center and Resource Center, where you can go and get sign up for our online test conf. I've mentioned this before, but it is a very nice event. I know that some of people are still don't get management buy-in to fly into on-site events like
Yeah.
Southwest, and having a free conference with leading professionals giving sessions for free. It's a huge, great opportunity to hear testing knowledge, and by the way, to apply to speak. This year is already closed for sure, but if you're an Aspire speaker, we're also always collecting speakers as well. So this is the first point. The second point is that we conduct monthly webinars, again with speakers from all around the world who gives their own sessions, and this is a great opportunity to learn about testing. We have members, customers and non-customers alike, and all are welcome to join our webinars month over month. Okay, they just have their slot in the calendar to expand their professional knowledge, which is wonderful. And the rest is written tutorials and articles. Come meet us on our website. That's about it for marketing part.
A plethora of opportunities. Please pay attention. I love these organizations that push so much knowledge and help people. It's awesome. Really, really incredible. To close up, Noah, I'm sure you have inspired a lot of people that would like to follow up with you, get in touch with you. Where can our audience find you?
So first of all, I'm on LinkedIn and happy to connect with anyone in the testing world, or by the way, any woman in IT world in general. I do a lot of work promoting women. I do a lot of mentoring, not on professional side of things, but obviously I can't teach you how to be a better QA. But if you have questions or you want to debate about what you should say or should you apply for this job, I am always more than happy to advise on this. So reach out to me on LinkedIn. My name is Noa Segol. You can either shoot me an email, but LinkedIn is actually the best place and easier to identify. And I will be very happy to.
Awesome. Noah, thank you so much for agreeing to be here,
Thank
for
you for having
joining
me.
us. It's been a pleasure. Everyone, get a word, get in touch with her. Awesome help. Please leverage these opportunities. If you want, you're a girl and you are
By the way,
willing
if you're a
to
man
get
as
out,
well,
whoever. I mean, I'm trying to push girls,
I
but
know,
I
but
know that
no,
everyone needs
I
help.
know as well, but I know as well, but
We
I
don't want
do
to
think
close the doors to.
I don't want to close the doors, because I also think, by the way, that when we are strong enough,
It
okay,
doesn't matter.
we can promote everyone.
Mhm.
Okay, it's not just women only. If you're a man and you're experiencing, I think gender definition
Has to
sometimes
be something that
it
we don't
has
need to
gender
focus,
doesn't
right?
have to be the role. So if you're experiencing the same considerations, so you are still welcome to advise
Everyone, yeah.
everyone. And I think this is a circle, because sometimes when we're in a women only environment, men tend to disregard it,
No, yeah.
and when it's a mixture, I think it's doing better. So everyone is invited. But of course, women get preference.
No, no. I mean, it's a tough thing to say, right? I'm getting corrected. I'm getting. I keep doing mistakes. I really wish I could fix them all at once, but it's a tough call, and we have these biases that we were talking about. Everyone, please follow Noah. You can tell she's awesome. She's incredible, and she knows what she's talking about. And again, thank you very much for being here with us. And with that, we're going to cut it up here because we need to start the streaming soon again there in the showroom. Probably we will see her again in a few minutes.
Absolutely.
And thank you very much, everyone. We'll keep streaming and stay tuned. Gracias.